We've returned to Huntingburg for Monday with the mayor, and Denny Spinner is with us again.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So, a new abatement program based for buildings that are vacant,
Right.
something that isn't always talked about. So, explain that a little bit.
Okay, back in 2012, the city passed a tax abatement ordinance that set aside certain criteria by which businesses could come in and seek abatement. And the program that we adopted in 2012 was virtually the same ordinance that the city of Jasper is now using, that the town of Ferdinand is now using, that the county of Du Bois County is using, so that we were all on the same page as for being able to offer the same types of incentives for companies that might want to locate or expand in any of our communities. With the Stellar program and looking at what's going on in our community, at our last council meeting, we made an amendment to our current tax abatement program to allow for a 100% tax abatement program for 10 years if the structure, if the project met certain criteria that we could set aside. Now, under the ordinance in 2012, this was possible, but what we did with this new ordinance, or the amendment to the ordinance, was to set certain criteria for specific reasons, specific things that could happen to promote this 10-year 100% tax abatement. What this also did was, in addition to setting the criteria, this does not mean they automatically get it. If they hit the criteria, it's not a given that they're going to get the abatement. It would still have to come back to the city council for their final approval for any abatement, any project that meets these requirements. Now, the requirements that we're talking about are very specific. There are some of the requirements would be that the building must have been vacant or underutilized for at least 5 years, that the structure has to be at least 40 years old, that the structure has to have at least 20,000 square feet, and that the rehabilitation or redevelopment of the property would include an investment of up to $5 million, at least $5 million. So there are some very specific things that have to be met before you can even be considered. And of course, you know, there are structures in our community that meet that criteria. The most obvious one being the former St. Joseph Hospital property. So we're just seeing this as another way to incentivize the redevelopment of that structure. The group that is coming in to do the apartment complex, a Miller Valentine group, we've already had an agreement with them that the city will provide up to $300,000 in incentives for that project to move forward. With this abatement program that we have now in place because of this ordinance, we feel that tax abatement will more than meet the $300,000 commitment that the city has in providing the incentives to allow that $5 to $6 million project to proceed. So this step on Thursday is just one of several that have happened over the last couple of weeks that clearly indicate that the project for the apartment complex, the senior living apartments at St. Joseph Hospital, are moving ahead.
Yeah. So is this something you guys feel, maybe looking around, that other communities might look at as maybe an example?
Yes. In fact, you know, this is something that's happened, to be quite honest. You know, Miller Valentine has had similar projects like this across the state, and I will say this very clearly, Huntington had a very similar project. It was a development of a building that was in a blighted area that needed a redevelopment. We had very close conversations with the city of Huntington to talk about the things that they were doing. And this is something that also has changed in the last session of the legislature, where this 100% 10-year abatement is available, where when we passed the ordinance back in 2012, that was not the case. So yes, we see it as a follow-up to what's being done across the state, and it puts us in a very competitive way with other communities in Indiana. But also, very clearly, it allows us, you know, we are setting the criteria here. So this is very much a local control. The 4 items that we mentioned is something that our planning director, our clerk treasurer, our city attorney, and myself as the mayor discussed. We had a very lively discussion at the council meeting about those criteria, where the council was all very much involved in modifying a few things that we had originally proposed. And we feel very comfortable with this ordinance, and we see it as a way that first step directly helping at St. Joseph Hospital. But if you look at the criteria, if there would be a vacant building, former manufacturing structure that would go vacant at some time, this would be a way that we could incentivize someone coming in, revitalizing that building and turning it into a more productive and also something that does increase the tax rolls for our community.
Yeah. Certainly, then it's just another method of economic development.
Exactly right. So we just see this as a way to provide the type of growth that we feel is going to be coming in Huntingburg, not only during the stellar time, but down the road as well.
As a wrap-up, you have some acknowledgments you want to hand out for the recent Christmas stroll.
Yes, sir. The Christmas stroll was last week, or the first weekend in November, and we were blessed with tremendous weather for the weekend. But I want to say that I would like to say thank you to first all the citizens of Huntingburg who were involved, all the merchants downtown, the different departments from the city that were involved, the Chamber of Commerce, Destination Huntingburg. You know, the stroll has become one of the highlights of the year, and as you went down along the Main Street, 4th Street area on that Saturday, on that Sunday, we had a tremendous amount of visitors coming to Huntingburg, some of them for the first time, some of them returning because of the success of the stroll in the past. But what was displayed there is truly the spirit of our community, and I had so many positive comments from those who were visiting that I just wanted to extend a thank you to all those who were directly involved, but anybody who you may not thought you were directly involved, but just being out there and having a welcoming spirit for those that were visiting our community. It really gave us an opportunity to showcase what Huntingburg's all about, and I believe that everyone that participated came away with some positive thoughts about our town, and I believe that we'll continue to build on that success. So it was a great weekend. I know this last weekend the Chris Kendall Mart was in Ferdinand. I went over and experienced that. The same thing. Du Bois County's welcoming spirit was there, and I know that when Old Tannenbaum days are in Jasper, that same thing will happen. But it's just an example of what our communities are all about, and I just wanted to have an opportunity to thank all those that were involved.
So in other words, you had weather opposite of the last couple days.
Yeah, it was a very nice weather. We were blessed to have a more appropriate weather for an outdoor event. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Mayor, we appreciate your time once again.
Thank you very much. You have a good afternoon.
That's been this week's edition of Monday with the Mayor. We're back after this.